Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Salaamun Alaykum.
Alaikum salam. It's great to see you and be speaking with you one on one again.
Always a pleasure. Be looking forward to
How-
this day.
Same here. How was your Eid slash Father's Day?
Wonderful, as is every day. I
That's
wake up.
true.
When I wake up, I appreciate what I see.
That's true.
I appreciate the people who are around me who also woke up that day.
Yeah.
And everything else is just, what do they call it? Icing on the cake.
Yeah. Yep.
So whether it's the Eid, birthday, or
Yeah.
special day that the culture has carved out for us,
Mhm.
I'm always appreciative.
Me too. Same here. Praise be to Allah.
Indeed, indeed. So where do we begin?
So forgive me, my voice is a little down because
Yours and mine. So we sound alike
yeah.
today.
Yeah. I'm exhausted, I have to admit, because since I got married, I've been living in Georgia with my husband and like working from home, do a
Yeah,
lot of work
yeah.
on the computer. But now it's the mental and the physical work that I'm doing at the same time because
Mm,
now I'm in the shop. So I'm a hairdresser again, but I'm also
okay,
managing and training. So I'm like retraining my team, which
okay.
are the graders, as well as my sisters who work with me, and they're in the administrative back end side. So I'm
Wow.
like training. So my brain and my body is literally always on.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to try to say a few things today that might help re-energize,
Hmm.
both the body and the mind,
Yeah.
because as you know, they are interconnected.
100%.
And I heard Dr. Joe Dispenza, I believe, say that the body is actually connected to the subconscious mind.
Agreed. I agree with
So
that.
all of the things that we need to remember to do or that we should have as a recollection in the subconscious mind are being enacted through the body. The
Mm.
body remembers that it needs
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah.
It remembers that it needs nutrition. It remembers that it needs exercise.
Hmm.
That's all a part of this flesh and blood
Yeah.
that is actually being dictated to us through the DNA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the body is not a democracy.
Yeah.
The
That's true.
body is a dictatorship.
Yeah.
And for people who might not believe that, all they have to do is try to keep themselves awake for 2 or 3 days straight. And
Mhm.
the body will either overpower you and put you to sleep, or you will die
Yeah.
from
That's for
lack
sure.
of sleep. So it's not a republic in the sense of the members of the body taking a vote. Should we sleep tonight? Should we not sleep? No,
Nah,
it's a mandate from the creator, the source creator, who knows better than we do how to keep us healthy.
for sure. For sure. My chiropractors that I go to, what I love about them in particular is that they're more about like overall care over the years. So they're like, if you want long-term care versus just going to the chiropractor and thinking that you'll get all of the years of tension in your spine that stores all that information. If you
Yes.
just do that and try to resolve that with one
Yeah.
adjustment, not
Yeah.
gonna happen. So they talked about that. For instance, they had a class and they talked about how being on these devices here right before you go to bed, the harm of that,
Not a
because
good
your body
thing.
doesn't know the difference between, oh, I'm just scrolling on Instagram
Hmm.
mindlessly versus it's an emergency. So that blue light sends a signal to the mind saying it's an emergency, it's a fight or flight situation. We
Yes.
need to stay awake. So even
Yes.
after you try to get off the phone and go to sleep, it won't do that anymore because your body is now just responding to that
Right.
light and interrupting the flow. You talked about flow.
Yes.
Oh, I gotta say, I'm so sorry. This is gonna be very casual. Like last night, that kept me awake. And I was like, no, go to sleep. It's 12:45 a.m. That was such a
Yeah.
great meet with
Yes.
Alif
Zach.
and
Yeah.
Winona.
Oh,
That
yeah. Yeah. That one. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
yes,
thinking the
yes.
day
So I
before.
brought up the
Okay.
flow and the blood flow. That when you were talking,
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
like,
listen, there
I
wasn't
really
enough
hope
to
they join
say.
the class.
Well, she's been in the class for a few years now,
True,
but her son
true,
has
true.
not. That was his first exposure to me
Yeah,
one on one. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
I had taken a break, as I mentioned at the end of the video. And when I came back, I forgot to restart
Oh,
the recorder. So that was really only half of what they
I
had to
bet.
say. And the second half was even outstanding.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd say even more so than the first half. But inshallah, we'll meet again probably next
yeah,
week and we'll put some concluding
yeah.
stamps on what we were talking about. But
That was a spoiler alert because I have like 23 minutes to go because I decided to go to sleep. I said, okay, no, go to sleep because I would
yeah,
not.
yeah.
Oh,
You
it was
know,
a really powerful
you,
conversation.
you've already mentioned some consonantal connections that we might want to begin with, and you mentioned that you mentioned the word care,
Okay.
but you also mentioned the word chiropractor.
Hmm.
And of course, care with its KR consonant sounds, and Cairo, although these two words are spelled with a C, it's
Yes.
the K sound. Cairo is also the K and the R consonantal sounds. And we also know that Cairo is also a place in Egypt.
Sure. Yes.
It was the central location for the biggest brains
Hmm.
to ever appear on planet Earth out of Cairo. And Egypt in the Quran has there's several ways of us looking at that particular name also. Uh, in the Quran, it's called Misr,
Okay.
like MISR,
Okay. Let me see.
from which the word misery
Mm-hmm.
and miser comes. So we can discuss that at a later date. But care, we all know what that is.
Yeah.
And if we connect it to the other consonantally connected word called core,
Yeah.
then we can understand more understandably that you definitely should be caring for whatever represents your core.
Definitely.
So if we say that as far as society goes, the core of society is the family,
Yeah.
then we should be caring about our families, right?
Yes.
And we should be caring about our heart, the physical heart of the individual, but also the heart of the community. What's keeping the community life pumping? So we should be concentrating on how to keep the core life of the community healthy,
Yeah. For sure.
right? We should be caring about the family life, which is the core of any society's life and development. We should be concerned about how to keep the family life in operation. And these are the things that modern day, especially Western society, don't have at the core of their concerns.
Not right now. No.
Say they've taken away the prototypical family that we all knew as a mother, father, sister, brother, etc. And extended family, of course. They've taken that model away, even though that was the model that the Fitra itself presented to us before extending ourselves to friends.
Right.
See,
Yeah.
but even before the internet and all of these other modern day contraptions and inventions introduced the rest of the world to us, we still had the core life of the family
Yeah.
as our central and pivotal point of operation.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Then we went on to develop friends. If you look at a lot of the sitcoms and a lot of the television shows, comedy shows especially, back from the 50s and the 60s and coming into the 70s, they were centered around families.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, the so-called Black families were mostly dysfunctional.
Well,
Whether we're talking, yeah. Go ahead.
we had some. We had, of course, we had Bill Cosby's family. We also had the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Hmm.
We had, I know there's more. Uh, I know it's not that many, but we
No,
had some, and they were really important. But you're right, over the years, they did start to become more and more dysfunctional. Martin is an example of that. Martin was married to Gina. I mean, no, they were together, but they weren't married.
there you go.
Yeah, and that comes, I think that's after the Fresh Prince, if I'm correct. And then
That's correct.
the rest started to deteriorate. But then they had my wife and kids. It just depend. My wife and kids, they were together. But then it was always sitcom too. We never really had,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
more
about. It's
serious
always a
stuff.
comedic
Yeah,
type of presentation and no really serious African American presence
that's
on
true.
television, except for maybe certain individuals. Maybe when Bill Cosby was doing I Spy.
And I don't really remember that
Yeah,
too.
so you could Google that and just take a look at an episode or
Okay.
two of that, and you'll see that alongside, I think it was Robert Conrad,
Okay.
Bill Cosby played an agent. I believe he was an agent in that. Yeah, obviously, right? I Spy. And but he wasn't a funny man per se,
Yeah.
and he dealt
Yeah.
with serious and controversial issues
Right.
that had nothing to do with his race, so-called race.
Yeah. Understood. Yeah.
So there were some people who were attempting at that time as writers and producers of those sitcoms and of those serious shows. I'd say they were serious, some of them, that weren't really concentrating that heavily on being funny or having us be funny.
Mm.
But we also know that the easiest way to sneak a curveball by a person is to make them laugh at something.
Oh yeah.
You know, if we can make it funny,
Yeah.
then we can take something that's a serious issue in your family life or in your community life. And if you can
Mm.
laugh at it enough times, you'll
Yeah.
stop paying serious attention to it.
That's true.
And they did that in terms of relationships in the African American community, particularly making us laugh at our relationship to each other as husband and wife, or making the children the dominant personalities in the family. You know, the
Yeah.
father's usually some dodo guy, whatever,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
usually the mother who's telling him what to do,
Yeah.
and the children are pretty much doing their own thing. And when they can trick their mother and father into them doing something that the parents don't approve of, then they do that also. So I'm one who has paid meticulous attention to these sitcoms,
Yeah.
especially that
Yeah.
we have been featured in, but not only us, but the common American has been featured in, and they've taken the seriousness out of the roles of mother and father, and they put in um, pranksters and jokesters and people who are not quite serious in those roles, you
That's
know?
true.
Yeah.
That's,
So
yeah.
we look for reasons why society has become numb and dumb. We say
Hmm.
dumbed down.
Yeah.
It's because of the very sophisticated way in which they have been able to throw these proverbial curveballs into our social settings. And we go to sleep one day having one set of values about parents and family life and the continuation of family life, having babies and so forth. And we wake up the next morning not paying very much serious attention to those matters,
That's true.
and also providing substitutes for those matters.
Yeah.
So they began to have sitcoms where, there was a gay couple raising the children, you
Yeah.
know. Now, people do what they want. I never rage against people and their individual choices. I didn't create them, so I don't have a right to criticize them.
Yeah.
But I do have a right to criticize that influence as it
Yeah.
is being perpetrated upon my children
Yeah.
and my family
Yeah.
through my television.
Mm.
So I have a right to either turn the television off,
Right.
but when that begins to become an overspill
Yeah.
into the fabric of the society itself, where people are now trying to force you to believe a certain way, well,
Hmm.
that's as bad as when they say Muslims tried to force Islam on nations by the
Yeah.
sword.
Oh
Did
yeah.
it did it happen? Yeah, it happened in some places. Was it right? No, because the Quran says, La ikraha fi din. Let there be no
Oh
compelling, no compulsion in the deen or in the so-called religion.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Allah says truth stands out clearly from error. So whoever believes, let him believe. Whoever chooses to have faith, let them have faith. Whoever chooses not, that's between them and the one they have to return to.
Yes, for sure.
So why am I going to spend all of my human energy trying to force a person at the tip of a sword to believe as I believe? So Al-Islam and the Quran came to normalize human society. And
Yeah.
people don't realize that because they're not studying the Quran clearly and closely enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's here to know, it's not here to turn you into an angel.
Hmm.
It's not here to make sure that you live the ideal, perfect, and perfected life.
Right.
It's not here to make us prophets and messengers and angels and all of that stuff. It's here so that you will have the proper guidance and guidelines for leading that excellent life, not perfect life. Tell me your idea between the difference between perfect and excellence.
It's funny you brought that up. So I hear that the idea that we have term perfect is erroneous. Perfect doesn't mean necessarily to be without flaw. Perfect means to be complete. And something can be complete and not necessarily come without having a set of flaws. So
Give me
how
an example of that.
understood?
Perfect and complete, but without flaws. That's a great statement.
Yeah, not necessarily without flaws. I would say humans by design, we have free will, and then we have influence that whether it comes from within or it's an external influence. And I would say with through our journey and our process of our evolution, so long as we um, have the intention, so long as we have the intention, our intentions are clear. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those words or one of those concepts that I'm still trying to work out in my mind.
Yeah. But in the
You
process
know,
of
it's
you working it out,
yeah,
you've made a perfect statement.
yeah,
Speaking of perfect.
yeah.
Um, and I'm going to give you some equivalents from the Quran. The Quran says, I'm paraphrasing a little bit now, that
Okay.
the deen itself, Deen al-Islam, has been completed
Right.
and perfected.
Yes.
So you can complete a thing, and anybody in manufacturing knows this.
Right.
Automobile manufacturer, for instance.
Right.
You can complete the building of a vehicle, but the vehicle is not perfected until it's actually put to the test.
Yes. Yes.
All of the
Okay.
parts that are on the schematic say that I've included that in this vehicle, disc brakes, whatever, all the things that go into the building of a primo automobile. But you cannot perfect it until you put it on the road. Because when you put it on the road, anything that was less than perfect, even though the
Mm-hmm.
car is whole, is
Mm-hmm.
complete,
Mm-hmm.
anything that's less than perfected is going to eventually show itself.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough air in the tire.
Yeah.
It's going to eventually, it won't show itself in the display room
Yeah.
where you haven't tested it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
this is how human life is also.
Yeah.
That we are born with a tendency towards completion. As humans, we're not even born complete.
For certain.
Yeah, because we're
For
still
certain.
growing after we leave the womb.
Yep. For
We
certain.
we don't have teeth,
Yep.
we don't have language, there's a lot of things we don't have that would lead to what one would call a whole or holistic life as a human being.
Yes.
But the perfection is in your imperfection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to wax a little bit philosophical now. A perfect human being is a human being that realizes that he or she has flaws. That's a part of your perfection because those flaws mean that I still have some work to do
Correct.
on keeping together this wholeness. When I was a child, I used to love doing big 1,000 piece puzzles.
Mm.
And I would detest when one of my siblings would come along after I've worked so hard, maybe for days, on completing
Yeah.
this puzzle, making it whole. And
Yeah.
then somebody comes along who's not thinking about all that work I put into it, and they
Mm-hmm.
begin to take a piece off,
Yeah.
or they take a piece off or try to, take the puzzle apart and then lose some pieces.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
that's what's happening with human life today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Allah completed and perfected a book of guidance. He didn't say he did that to us.
Correct.
He didn't complete and perfect the human being. He created us from what they call clay,
Yep.
from what he calls clay. And we know that clay can be pieced apart. We used to love doing that in grade school. We'd build a face or something, put the nose in and all of that. And then, maybe later we just got bored and we just started messing with the nose. But people in history, like Napoleon, he started messing with the nose of the Sphinx.
Yeah.
And he directed his soldiers to blow the nose off of the Sphinx and off of everything else black there that had a nose,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that hopefully the people of the future would not realize that these
Mhm.
were people from this part of the world,
Yeah.
Africa.
Yeah. Even though it's
He,
pretty clear.
yeah, he figured just taking the nose off is enough to fool people,
Right.
because of the distinguished features
Exactly.
of that Nubian nose, right?
By their nostrils.
Yeah, you got one, I got one, right? That distinguished nose, right? Flaring nostrils.
Yep.
If we can just get rid of that, maybe they'll think we built this.
Mhm.
So people are always in the business of piecing apart that which was intended to be whole,
Yes.
right? And when you see an imperfection and you attempt to remedy that imperfection by helping it complete itself, further complete itself, then that's the completion and the perfection that we're talking about. When you make a conscious attempt to complete yourself first and
Correct.
foremost, and
Correct.
then to perfect your actions.
Yes, sir.
I did it wrong yesterday. I'm going to try again. Or I said the wrong thing to my wife 2 days ago, and she's
Yeah.
still she's still mad. So
Yeah.
let me think of something. What does she like? Where would she like to go? What can I get for her? What can I do for her? Maybe this isn't the day I need to rub her feet. She's on her feet all day. So those are the activities that human beings take on that are intended to perfect a relationship and cause a
Right.
relationship to come back to its
Yeah.
holistic, right?
Yeah.
Uh, um, Composure.
Yeah.
What do you say about all of that?
I'm happy you said that because it's going to have me segue into what I had texted you about. So currently, many Muslims are probably in Mecca to perform the Hajj pilgrimage or Hajj, i.e., pilgrimage.
Yeah.
And my parents are there right now.
Yes, you mentioned.
And speaking of perfection, my mom had an experience that kind of put us all in a scare
Hmm.
where, so they have large travel group that they went with. I don't remember
Hmm.
how many people they had, but it
Hmm.
was about 100 people.
Hmm.
It's three imams came together,
Hmm.
and were at Mina because that was their next stop.
Hmm.
And it's really grueling because we know the temperatures out there. It's like
Oh yeah.
112 every day, no wind, no shade. And they are in a tent in Mina. I guess it's less developed. And she's with a group of women. And the weather and the physical angst started to get to my parents.
Yes.
So they started to fall under the weather. Potentially, there's a bug going around.
Yeah.
And my mom started feeling under the weather. And just before they were getting on the bus to head to this location, to Mina, the women she was staying with started to treat her differently because she wasn't feeling well. Um, it's a little explicit, and I know it's online, and we don't have like a million followers, but it's a little
Hmm.
hard for me to say this openly. But my mom's face started to swell up,
Hmm.
and they started associating her natural reaction to witchcraft.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They started mistreating her. They essentially were bullying my mom. Uh, People were moving away from her, pushing her to the other side of the room, not physically, uh, and just whispering behind her.
Yeah.
And she felt very alone and
Hmm.
kind of welling me up now, but it was a big scare for everybody on Sunday because we were concerned about my mom's well-being mentally,
Yes.
name. But it brought me to a place where I had a discussion with my elder sister, about her faith. And Allah challenges us in many ways. And I think it was a moment to challenge everyone's faith in the household. Everyone has this idea, or a lot of Muslims have this idea that going to Hajj will, after you complete all of the rituals, will give you a clean slate, i.e., through your soul and your spirit, and you are clean. Even the men wear the white wrap.
Hmm.
And when you're wearing that, they say you're so pure, you can't talk about impure things because they're things that have to do with the dunya, the world, because the dunya is impure somehow.
Yeah, but make sure you
So
pay that $5,000 to $6,000 to get here.
it's more than that. You're talking 10K to 12K if you're coming from the US because they double the price if you're in the US.
That old dunya get you every
Yep.
time.
Get you every time. So
Okay.
my parents are more old school in their perception. It would be very difficult to introduce these concepts to them little by little, just little. I just plug it in when I can, but
That's all you can do.
I can't jump in with them. And it made me think about the same rituals that those women did. You did them. Who's pure? Who's the perfect being?
And who is
In
this totally
purity,
forgiven being? You're going there to get forgiven for all of your sins. And while you're trying to get forgiven for all your sins, you are sinning based on
correct,
your treatment of other human beings.
correct. I mean, people are getting trampled circling the Kaaba.
People die every year circumambulating the Kaaba and making the so-called Hajj. I say so-called because the Hajj that we've been taught to make, as the one that your folks went to, that Hajj is not in the Quran.
Yeah.
That Hajj, that ritual, has existed for thousands of years amongst the Vedics of India. The only main, or I should say the main difference is that they circumambulate in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
They have what is called the Shiva Lingam. I don't know if you've ever heard that term.
Is that in volume two, The True Meaning of Salat?
Probably.
I think it
I
is
don't
in there.
remember
Yeah.
specifically. Yeah, I think it's in there and I put pictures of it in there.
Yeah. I think it's there.
And
Yeah.
it is their version of what we came to call the black stone. The Muslims call it the black stone in the corner of the Kaaba. Another phenomenon which the Quran says nothing about. As much veneration as we give that stone by fighting each other and the guards whipping us back from the corner of the Kaaba trying to touch that black stone,
Yeah.
as much activity as centers around that stone during the so-called Hajj event, there's nothing in the Quran to say that's what we're supposed, that there's nothing in the Quran that says the stone is even there. If you look at what Allah says about the stone, you're not going to find nice things being said. It's in relation to idolatry.
It is.
That's
That's
stone worship. What they're doing over there is absolute stone worship. To believe that this stone is going to absolve you of your sins, if you, especially if you can touch it, to the point where people are almost just kicking each other in the kneecaps, trying to get
it's
to it
true.
ahead of some. What kind of religion is that?
Yeah.
But again, if you go from the beginning of this logic related to the Hajj, first of all, most people don't even know what the name Hajj or the word Hajj means. It's
Yeah.
used in different kinds of ways in the Quran, but all of them are related to each other. We'll talk about that in a minute, hopefully. But the point is that most people don't know what the word Hajj means. Most people don't know that the Quran says that Hajj, whatever this is a duty that is owed, that humanity owes to Allah, not Muslims, or I should say not only Muslims, but it's a duty that humanity owes to Allah. So who is this humanity that hasn't taken Shahada, that owes Allah Hajj? this thing that we call the ritual, going over to Mecca and Medina and Mina and all of these places. And we do this religiously and fervently while treating our fellow Muslim like shit.
The right
Excuse the
term.
expression.
The right term.
Your conscience should overwhelmingly bother you, as was when my wife went to Hajj prior to us being married. Before I even knew her, she had made her Hajj. And the treatment that she said she got from the men and the women. So you can't tell me that people don't treat you badly because you're black making the Hajj, because they do. They treat you different. You can't say they don't treat you different because you're female making the Hajj, because they absolutely do. And if it weren't for some of the women fighting back, not physically, but, you know,
Yeah.
to say, wait a minute, you don't have any rights over us that, we haven't given you, or you can't tell us we can't be in the front rows. This is the Hajj. We can be anywhere we want. We can pray right next to a male.
Yes.
You can't help it. Millions of people. You can't divide that into male and female. So the point is that we're not thinking enough about what we're calling Din al-Islam, because we have been taught it absolutely incorrectly. I would say for the average Muslim on planet Earth, and we're numbering, I think, 2 billion, something like that now. I forget how many
Yeah.
numbers. Or 1,200,000,000. I forget the number that they say are Muslims. And when they
We
say
all
Muslim, they just mean that we were born into a Muslim family. Doesn't mean we're living the Muslim life. So that's how we determine what a Muslim is or who a Muslim is.
can you
Say,
forgive me? I'm so sorry. One second. I have to
yeah, no,
answer.
go right ahead. Go right ahead.
I think she's good.
All right. And you make sure you let me know when you have to go. Don't just interrupt. Jump right in.
Yeah.
All
No
right.
problem.
All
Perfect.
right.
Perfect. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah. So these misconceptions is what we're addressing now. The misconceptions that most Muslims have been taught as incorrect concepts related to the Quran and related to the so-called religion called Islam, which should be properly called Al-Islam. The root for the word Hajj is related to the idea of argumentation, discourse with each other. We get the word haggle from the word Hajj. And haggle is usually an action that takes place between people involved in buying and selling,
Yeah.
because that was the place back in the day where people used to bring their wares, their goods, in order to buy and sell to other people. It was a marketplace. Hajj is an economic journey where people used to haggle. Yeah, they used to haggle,
Makes sense now.
right? Yeah, they used to go back and forth, back and forth. And the Jews also have that habit. They had it even before the Muslims. I believe even the Jews and their idea is what influenced the Muslim idea once the Muslims became a growing populace in that area of the world. And there's another phrase that made its way into the English language uh, called the hag. They used to call an old woman, especially if she wasn't married or no longer married. Yeah,
Mhm.
an old hag, from the same
God,
concept of haggle and Hodge. And they got that word hag from the Bible's concept of
Hagar,
Abraham's wife
Hagar.
that they call Hagar. We say Hajar. Say Hajar. They say Hagar. And what did Hagar do? She went back and forth, right? Looking
Yeah.
for some sustenance or some water or some source of nutrition for her baby. but she had to go back and forth, just like we argue, back and forth. And Allah says that this is a duty that humanity owes to Allah. Now, how can that be possible if it, in fact, is a physical journey once a year at a particular time where everybody who wants to make Hajj has to go within this particular frame of time?
Right.
You wouldn't be able to fit humanity if humanity decided to go next year. Hajj would then have to be something that's not
Yeah.
relegated to a couple of days or a week or so of journey into the land of the Arabs. Couldn't possibly happen. It would have to, if you see it as being a physical back and forth, like from your house to Mecca and back to your house and that kind of back and forth, if you see it as being such, you definitely can't do it in the way that most Muslims are taught to do it in today's time. It would be logistically impossible
Right.
for Hajj, as they are postulating it, to take
Mhm.
place in today's time. Back
Yes.
in the day when it was only, maybe 10,000 Muslims, okay, you can fit them in that land. But if it had to be 10 million or a billion people, because humanity owes this to Allah, and when is this day coming when humanity is going to realize that they're supposed to be doing Hajj? So that right there tells you that it cannot possibly be a ritual that Muslims do, because everybody who's not a Muslim say, I ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm not going over there. And it's dangerous now to go over there, So, how are you going to balance that out in the end? God says you're supposed to be doing this. That means that it has to be something that every human being is capable of doing. Allah would not put anything in his Quran and direct it towards humanity and say, humanity owes me this, without him also retrofitting the human being
Yeah.
for doing it.
Yeah.
So the Hajj that the Quran is discussing is the Hajj related to something that is going on the psychological, the emotional, the moral, and the rational plane of our existence. In other words, Hajj is something that's taking place in the human mind for the human mind's further development. And you know how we say, come on, man, settle on whatever it is, man, and stop this back and forth stuff. We say, make up your mind. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what Allah wants you to do. He wants you to make up your mind with the building blocks given to you by Him.
Mhm.
For what? For the further completion and perfection of humanity.
Mhm.
So I hope that's all making sense the way I put it. You
I'm
know,
curious to know, and I'm trying to get to memorize these things by heart. The verse that speaks about Hajj. I don't remember the exact verse. Is it in Surah Al-Baqarah?
I can look it up for you just so that I'm not guessing, but I believe it is. It's either in yeah, let me just make sure. It's an easy Google.
Because it is a very back and forth. I've been stuck on I'm sorry, I don't remember all the Arabic names right off the top,
Mhm.
but the ants,
Yeah,
that
Naman. Yeah.
that one is very hard to crack. So Hajj is another one of those for me as well. Like what solidifies for me that it's not a physical activity, or
Hmm.
maybe it is to some extent, but not necessarily associated with all of the rituals that we've associated with.
Hmm. I got you.
But I totally understand the psychological concept of it.
Yeah. It's not that it's not a physical, it's not, I
Yeah,
wouldn't call it a ritual, it's a routine. Remember, rituals
I
bring
know
you
the difference.
nothing in return.
Right.
Routines, there's always a positive outcome at the end
Yes.
of the routine. We make a routine out
Agreed.
of bathing every day. It's not mandatory, according to the Quran, that you take a bath or
Yeah.
shower every day. But there's a
Right.
discernible benefit. We know that. So there
Right.
is a physical component to the Hajj. There's a physical
Understood.
component to the Salat.
Right.
Nobody said all of these things are just swimming around in your head and you don't have to do anything physical. No, the physical
Right.
things that you do all of the time are going to have either a deleterious effect, meaning it's going to take something from you,
Yeah,
or you keep smoking, right?
that's a fact.
Ritualistically, pack a
Yep.
day, 2 packs a day, it's going to
Yeah.
have a deleterious effect. It's going to
Yeah.
begin to delete certain things from you that you need, right?
Un-
Vitamins, deficiency, all kinds of stuff, oxygen depletion, it's going to take stuff from you. But the things that Allah has asked us to do routinely are only
yeah.
things that will benefit us after the fact.
Right.
After we've done those things, it's
Right.
going to benefit us. See? So Allah doesn't say exercise every day like the exercise gurus do today. Allah just says, do these things. Go give charity. Go do this. Go help your mother. Go help you. But you can't do those things unless you are getting exercise at the same time. They didn't have automobiles back then, especially. So these things are related to physical routines that we do. But what I'm saying in what the Quran is saying with this particular verse is that if humanity owes these things to Allah, this
Right.
is the beautiful thing, then you should be able to do these things anywhere in the world.
Right. And I understand and I could concur. So there is a Surah Al-Hajj, correct?
Yes.
Right. And I'm barely reading it and I'm already seeing the back and forth that we discuss and uh I'm just gonna read a little bit. I'll skip
Please.
it. 22 Surah 22 ayah 3, and this is English translation. What is this?
Okay.
Mustafa Kitab, the Clear Quran version.
Yeah, let me just pull it
Still,
up. Let me pull it up real quick,
no
just
problem.
so I'll be on the literal same page as you.
Actually, they have everything. They got Yusuf Ali, Sahih International. Yeah, they got pretty much
Yeah.
like
And
everybody's
what is
in
the
here.
verse again? And
22,
22,
Surah, ayah 3.
3. Okay, hold on one moment.
And
Right
I'm
there.
kind of skipping.
It's okay. I'm sorry, I lost it that quick. 22,
Yep, 3, 22,
3,
3.
3.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Okay,
Mhm.
go for it. There you go.
Read over. Um,
I'm looking
Bismillah.
at the Yusuf Ali
Can I
translation,
use
but
you?
yeah.
You want Yusuf? Okay, I'll do Yusuf.
No, no, I want to hear if somebody else is saying the same thing.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
Still, there are some who dispute about Allah without knowledge and follow every rebellious devil. It has been decreed for such devils that whoever takes them as a guide will be misguided and led by them into torment of the blaze. O
Hmm.
humanity, if you are in doubt about the resurrection, then know that we did create you from dust, then from a sperm drop, then developed you into a clinging clot, then a lump of flesh, fully formed or uniformed, in order to demonstrate our power to you. Then we settle whatever embryo we will in the womb for an appointed term, and then bring you forth as infants so that you may reach your prime. Some of you may die young, while others are left to reach the most feeble stage of life, so that you may know nothing after having known much.
That's called
And you,
Alzheimer's in our day and time.
yeah, makes sense.
All
And you
right.
see lifeless, but as soon as we send down rain upon it, it begins to stir to life and swell, producing every type of pleasant plant. So I know that kind of go a little further, but the disputing
Yes, it's
point
right there.
was there. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
right,
skipped a
right
little bit,
there.
but I think if I started from the beginning, it
Yeah,
talked about
yeah.
trying to
Um,
determine
hmm.
what you would believe about Allah, or if you do believe in his revelation, in Allah's revelations. I
Yes.
try to refrain from saying he and his.
Yeah.
Just say Allah when I refer to the creator now. And I try not to say he.
Okay.
So yeah. So I would definitely have to revisit it. But sometimes I guess it's a little troubling for me. And maybe because we've been conditioned and
Hmm.
how we should perceive it, that I still want to know, is that a physical like Mecca and the Kaaba, is it a physical stone? But then like you said, stones, right? So I didn't know they had to throw stones at two shaitans. I thought it was one shaitan. but there's another three. Okay, it's more. So like, it just keeps adding up. And it's like my sister was questioning, like, why is there anything that's like venerating in essence what is supposed to be Shitan? And then if you're throwing stones, it's so funny. The people throwing stones at the physical Shitan, right, as a ritual movement,
Mhm.
take that action and they started throwing stones, i.e., at my mom for falling under the weather.
Come
So it's like you
on.
shouldn't
Put
be
it
doing
together. Put it
action
together, sister.
that is going to then it becomes psychological. And they don't even know that the motions that they're doing, even the circumambulating. Is there anything inherently wrong about, I guess, circumambulating? Maybe not. But do we even know what we're circling? What does it mean to circumambulate? What does that mean? To me, it can mean to, you know, you don't want to be moving in circles. You want to move forward, right? The surat, the upwards elevation. But circling usually has the connotation, maybe even a denotation of getting nowhere.
And inducing dizziness.
Yes.
You remember as children, we used to just
Yeah.
run around in a circle until we got so dizzy we would just fall
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. It made me think about that. You're just going around in circles, going around in
Yeah.
circles. And
These,
then usually circling, you don't get
mhm.
anywhere. You just
No,
end
no.
up back where you started. And
Yeah.
the intention is to,
Allah speaks about the circumambulating of the Kaaba amongst the ancient Arabs,
yeah.
and Allah speaks about it and mentions their whistling and clapping of hands. So they were celebrating.
Yeah.
And the Hajis are taught to celebrate the Hajj through all of its difficulty. At the end of it, big time party, 10th day, you know, Dhul Hijjah and the rest of what comes along with Mount Arafat. But they're not understanding the symbols of
Mm,
Allah. They're
yeah.
not understanding that these are also metaphysical requests from Allah that we be able to do it way after we've left the land that we thought we were practicing this Hajj in,
Hmm.
right? The very fact that we make what's called a hijrah, see, Hajj is in that word, hijrah. It means that you're supposed to be leaving one place that's not treating you well or not respecting your urge for elevation
Mm,
and traveling to another part that is more acceptable of your qualifications. So that would be Medina in the case of the history,
yeah.
from
Right.
Mecca to Medina. And notice that Muhammad never went back to Mecca to live, even though they say he was born and raised
Right.
there.
Right.
He must not have had that kind of emotional attachment. Or there was something more beneficial going on in Medina, the place of Deen,
Yeah.
Medina, the place of Deen.
Mother of
His
the deep.
his objective
Mm,
was to practice the Deen and all of the ramifications that Allah had revealed it to contain. Mecca means tears,
yes.
crying,
Right.
lamenting.
Right.
And Allah has nothing to say laudatory about Mecca. He has great things to say about Becca,
Hmm.
but not about Mecca. What's that about? And the scholars simply just flip the script and say, well, they're both the same place.
Yeah. And it's
And
not.
Becca is merely the ancient name for Mecca. Really? So Allah had to repeat it. What was the point in that history note? What was Allah trying to teach us in
Right.
saying Mecca and Becca? If they were the same, they would have the same attributes. But one is given laudatory, full of blessings, Becca, full of blessings, full of barakat,
Yeah.
and the other one to the opposite.
Correct.
So scholarship has really led us in the incorrect direction, whether intentionally or unintentionally. The fact is that they have led us in the incorrect direction when it comes to understanding what these words are signifying.
Right.
And it's left to modern day thinkers to determine what these differences are and begin to do Hajj with each other
Yeah.
as thinkers. We got to go back and forth with each other. Well, why do you say it means this? Why do you say these letters have different meanings, Instructor Bilal? See, every time you ask me a question, that's Hajj.
Yeah.
Because you're going to say, well, as far as I thought,
Right.
I read or I heard this scholar say, then I have to come back with my rebuttal.
Yeah.
So that's Hajj.
Yeah.
It's something that happens on the level of so-called scholarship, but it also happens on the level of the average human thinker,
Right.
not Muslim thinker. That's why it's owed by all of
Yeah.
humanity to Allah, because He created all human beings to be able to haggle
Mm-hmm.
in order
That's
to come up with the best concept and the best application for that concept.
yeah.
Your go. So for those who don't know, the Surah on Hajj is Surah 22
Mm-hmm.
in the Quran.
I always have so much to say, and then when it's time to talk with you, it's lost.
It's okay though. That's why we have new days born. So we can say, I'll see you Thursday then. I'll have some more questions for you.
Yeah. Like many questions.
Yeah. Questions are best typified by water.
Yeah, it's the Q
Okay.
in
Yeah.
the term question, which
Yeah.
has order
The letter
quality.
Q is right. The letter Q.
Mm-hmm.
And also in Arabic, the letter M.
100%.
So the word for water, you know it already?
I'm at a marina right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that can't get by you. All right.
And I love coming to the marina because
Yeah. Yeah.
you're able to allow your thoughts to flow as I either flow with the water.
Yeah.
Yep.
Listen,
Uh,
people don't realize it, but if they would think about things while they're in the shower or
oh,
taking a bath, you could write a book
that
sitting in the
naturally
bathtub.
happens.
Yeah, because of the
That's where the
proximity to
thoughts flow.
water.
Correct.
That's the fitrah. When you're around a lot of water, it causes
Yeah.
you to start asking questions about
Uh-huh.
things. Because the original attachment to water, as far as human beings go, is when they would go by the seashore or by a beach setting or something like that. And just looking out into it. And now this is before humans invented canoes and boats and ships and all of these things to sail them across the water, right? Before that, the best they could do is stand at the seashore and maybe swim out a little bit. But how far can you
Yeah.
swim before you start
Right.
to, so the proximity to water caused us to ask questions because
Yeah.
we from where we were standing, we could see other things out
Yeah.
there. Be a
Yeah.
whale spouting water, could
Yeah.
be a shark's fin popping out of the water and going back down, and we don't know what those things are. So they cause question marks
Yep. For certain.
in the mind.
Hmm.
And we then set out to answer those questions.
Yeah.
It becomes a quest. You get it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
The questions
Yep.
create a quest in the human mind. Okay. To have those questions answered because that's how
Yep.
Allah programmed the brain to not be satisfied not knowing
Yeah.
something
That's
that
for
you're
certain.
interested in, especially. That's what school is all about.
I'm sorry. I'm
So,
going to pivot. Oh, excuse me.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Mecca, you said means tears. And that's how you know Mecca and Becca do not mean the same things. Because if we use consonantal connections and we know what our letters mean, the M is a significant of water and your emotionality,
How about it?
the M in Mecca, and the tear connection. It makes sense. But now the kaf, grasping,
Hmm.
we grasping. So we think emotional and grasping your emotions. I'm doing this every day with
Yeah,
every word.
this is beautiful.
I do it every day. Every word I can think of. It doesn't matter the language.
Hmm.
Even when you said maester, you didn't say maester. You said another word earlier.
Not remembering.
We'll remember. But that's how you know that's connect. That has a water element in the term Makkah.
Yeah.
But the Bakka, the B,
Well, before you go to Mecca, let me just say
yeah,
this
okay,
real
let's
quick
say I'm
about
Mecca.
Mecca.
Okay.
So the M we know means water, and we know that
Yes.
water is symbolic of human emotionality.
Yep. And your
And
moral.
the calf is the palm of the hand that captures things.
Yes.
So it's water being captured,
Oh.
which represents an effort on the part of the emotional you
Mm-hmm.
to control
Mm-hmm.
that water,
Mm-hmm.
simply to control. That's what the palm of the hand does.
Yeah.
It takes something in it doesn't let it go.
Yeah.
You know, if you're controlling your car, it's because you have your hands around the steering wheel, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to control a person who's acting out, your child or somebody. You take your hands and you put them around the child and
Mm-hmm.
you say, "Stop it, stop it, stop it," right? So it's not that these words have bad or negative meanings in the fitra.
Right. Right.
They only have bad or negative meanings when you apply them incorrectly in the life,
Yeah.
in your life. All right. So if you look at even the opposite of that, which would be kaf meme,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, right.
Caffeine.
Cam, which is the beginnings of the word camera
Yeah.
and the beginnings of some other Arabic words. But let's look at camera. What is the camera doing? It's
Capturing.
capturing. That's
Yeah.
right. So that's the K part.
Yep.
But what is it capturing? A water source. What is the water source? A reflection, because that's what water does.
Yes, that's exactly what it does. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. It's reflecting
Yeah.
back to you the image that you
Yes.
captured in the
Correct.
camera. So these are all what we call consonantal connections, as you
Yes.
know. And consonantal connections will never fail you. You can only fall short of understanding what they mean in their sequences because you have
Yeah.
to really, really buckle down and study
Yeah.
this
Yes.
linguistic phenomenon called NuNetics.
Yeah.
You have to dedicate a certain portion of your day, certain portion of your thinking capacity.
Yeah.
And you can do it while you're sitting at work, like you're doing, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that the lessons stop.
Yeah. It doesn't.
I do this in my sleep now, but I don't
Yeah.
recommend that because you lose a lot of sleep. But I guess I'm the sacrificial lamb for that.
Yeah.
Somebody has to sacrifice their sleep
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
but all you have to do is think normally and naturally about these concepts, and Allah will take over from there and he will become your primary teacher.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
You won't have to worry about the substitute teacher after Allah takes over.
Yeah, that's true. You're right about that. And but you
Mhm.
do have to work in because some of my letters I'm getting better. So like audience, the C in camera is not a C, it's a K. So
Yes.
just so you everyone can understand what we're saying. But yeah, I got some of my letters. I'm getting better and better at it. Like the J in the Hajj or the Jed.
Mhm.
Think I can't remember that. I don't know why I can't the T. I gotta study T.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's just so I got a little more work to do, a lot of more work. Let me stop it. I got a lot more
Yeah.
work to do.
Yeah.
But some of
And
them I'm
yeah.
getting. I'm really getting this.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, can we move to Becca?
Yeah.
So the B, the or the ba or the bait
Hmm.
is it's a house that fills itself up, empties out, and then refills, correct?
Hmm. Hmm.
The B is that also that's the stomach?
Yes.
No, it is a stomach.
Hmm. Hmm. The belly. Yep. Hmm.
So
The
stomach
butun
and
is called in
then
Arabic.
say that one more again. I missed it.
In Arabic, it's called the butun.
Yes, the button.
Butun.
The button. So that's the
That's
button.
where they get the idea of belly button.
Right, right.
Yeah, from butun. Yeah.
See, then now this is where I'd be like you said, I gotta let the fitra and
It's
God
all right
Allah
though. It's also the testicles bait.
truth, truth, because that's exactly what that does.
What's the principle? Anything that
Fills itself
fills itself up, empties itself,
and
and
a
then
refill.
refills and does that perpetually, like your belly does with
Yes.
food, like
Yep.
your testicles do with sperm,
Yep.
right? So there's a filling up, there's a releasing or an evacuation, whatever you want to call it, and then there's a refilling process. So that's bait. That means that everything that's happening in the universe can be classified as bait, because this is why the ancient philosophers called those planets houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the moon is in the seventh house,
Yeah.
and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will guide the planets and love will fill the stars. See,
Okay.
filling, divesting, refilling, Age of Aquarius was the name of that song
Mm,
by the
mm.
Fifth Dimension.
Definitely a 70s song.
Yeah. You remember Muhammad said, prepare to sit at the table of the fifth dimension. And he said, and it is a round table.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
we see planets, right?
Yes. Yes.
Study the ancient myth of King Arthur's round table.
Okay.
He had 12 people around that table, which represent the zodiac. So these are stories, these are mythologies, including what you're reading in the Quran about uh, Yaqub or Jacob's 12 sons,
Yeah.
what you're reading in the Quran and the Bible about Moses hitting the rock, striking the rock, and 12 springs came out, and each one of them knew their place, right?
Yeah.
So these numbers are not arbitrary and they're not literal.
Yeah.
They're not actual as literal things. They are
Right.
conceptual, philosophical,
Hmm.
and understandable
Hmm.
if you compare 12s with 12s and what 12s do. You got 12 cranial nerves in your brain. See, that's the beauty of how Allah reveals his knowledge. It's not going to connect to just one thing that you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to connect and interconnect with many different things that represent that whole or that perfect thing, that whatever 12 is. So he can use it to mean strike the rock, 12 springs. Then you can go to other places in the Quran where Allah speaks about springs. The word ayn, that letter ayn, which means the eye, it also means spring, a water
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
because that well is going to increase. The water wells in the eyes, you know what
Yes.
happens, right? So that's a Mecca.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that water well, that's going to increase in water, empty itself out eventually, or dry out or whatever, and then be replaced by new water. So in
Yeah.
that sense, the meme and the ba are connected.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah.
Hence
Yeah.
the Mecca and the Becca. But they
Yeah. But
don't mean exactly the same thing because they're not
exactly.
talking about exactly the same thing.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
12 hours in a day,
Yeah, same thing.
24 hours, but the 12-hour,
It's the zodiac.
yeah, it was borrowed from that.
Hmm. Like I said, the 12 sons of Yusuf,
Yeah.
pardon me, of
Yeah.
Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah, 12 sons of Jacob. Same thing.
So Baka means blessings because
Well, what's the word for blessing?
in Arabic,
Yeah,
baraka,
yes. Give
they
me the
say.
three consonants.
Beit, Ra, Kaf.
Give me the three consonants in the English word blessing or bless.
Mm-hmm. BLS.
That's right. And S can interchange with what?
That K.
That's right.
Kaf.
Right? So barak or baraka and bless or blessing
Yeah.
is essentially saying the same thing, thematically at least.
Thematically until you get into talking about Iblis,
Hmm.
and then it starts getting dicey again.
No, not really, because like I said earlier, the words as they originate and spring out from the fitrah are neutral. See, if it's coming out of the fitrah, the first premise, I guess we can call it, right, is that all things in nature, i.e., the fitrah, are neutral. They're neutral.
Yeah.
They are what the Quran refers to as they can neither help you nor harm you
Yeah.
because they are not morally infused. They're
Right.
not infused with moral capacity to think good and bad and clean and dirty. And these people are super people as Europeans, and these people are negatively endowed people. They're from Africa and Asia. The Fitrah never gives us those ideas
Hmm.
because Allah, in creating us, the word for create, khalaq, He created, khalaqa, He created. It actually means that He programmed a
Yeah.
thing,
Right.
right? Because you've come
Yeah.
across that. So the programming is not evil.
Right.
If your computer,
Right.
after it's programmed and you get to it and you start entering, stuff from your mind, and then the computer becomes bogged down because that person has been downloading a bunch of filthy pornography and because it's choking out the life of the computer, you can't blame the programming.
Right.
It's neutral. It will take whatever you give to it and try, just hope you're doing the right thing. So it's the same thing with the human being. We're not
Right.
innately evil.
Right.
We're not innately wrong
Right.
or bent towards wrong.
Right.
But that's the attitude that Muslim so-called scholarship has come
Yeah.
into and has sold to the rest of the Muslim world because
Yeah.
they got that from studying the Jews and the Christians before them,
Yeah.
especially the Christians who say you're born in sin. But where did the Christians get that? They got it from the Old Testament, which is
Yeah.
what? The Torah,
Yeah. Yeah.
shaped by iniquity.
Right.
That's why Allah had to come behind it with the Quran and say you were created fi ahsani taqweem, in the
Yep.
most excellent of organizational designs.
Yes, for certain.
What you become
Yeah.
after that,
Right.
it says in the Quran that man was created weak,
Yeah.
but I want you to listen with your good ear this time for what I'm about to tell
Okay.
you. You're always listening with your good ear, but pay special attention to what I'm about to say. Again, the Quran says that man was truly created weak. So you say, well, isn't that saying the same thing as man is created in sin or, with a deficit? No, it's not saying the same thing
I mean, yeah.
because it doesn't say that Allah created you that way. It just says that man was created or programmed weak, but it doesn't say it's a passive statement. It doesn't say
Right.
who created him weak
Exactly.
because the human being's mind takes over after the child is delivered into this environment. And we begin to distort that fitrah, as one of the hadiths tell us, that every child is born upon the fitrah, and it's the people, beginning with its parents,
Hmm.
that make it
Hmm.
something wayward, make
Yeah.
it something, in fact, the word that it's using, it means it makes it incomplete. Remember, we were talking about completion in the
Yeah.
beginning,
Yeah.
wholeness,
Yep. Full circle.
perfection. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's the parents, beginning with the parents and what they allow into the five senses of their
Yeah.
child before anybody in the world gets to it, unless you're born a slave or something, and master, so-called, has, control. But the point is that the wholeness that Allah created us to grow into sequentially, stage by stage, as he says in the Quran, right? That wholeness is artificially interrupted by humans, by the thought police
Yeah.
that need to make you believe a certain way.
Hmm.
And that thought police is as prevalent amongst the Muslim world and has been for the past 1,300 years as it is in any other part of the society of this world that we know.
Yeah.
So I just say to the Muslim world, don't be surprised, but not, especially not by what I'm saying.
Right.
Don't shoot the messenger. Just say to yourself, Alhamdulillah, I'm still on this side of the life and Allah is introducing me to the truth. So let me just at least investigate some of what this guy is saying.
Let me ask you, you said that and you probably paraphrasing, man has been created weak. Is it
Mm-hmm,
the is it created? Is that the word that you like that?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah, man has been created.
mm-hmm,
I mean, I could see how that could be misconstrued, and I'm happy you brought up the word create because in last night's session you did,
mm-hmm.
you talked about the difference between create and
Yeah,
to make something.
yeah. Well,
And
you're right on top of everything, aren't you?
yeah, so the not going to sleep, that's part of my nature. But so I thought about that, right?
Hmm.
So in the term create, I kind of hear the word free as in decree,
Okay.
and a cree, the cree and decree, creed is in there. And if
Mm.
something is a creed, right? Is
Yes.
it like it has to be said first and then put into the ether before it manifests in a sense that we can actually see, is what I thought about the difference between create and to make.
Hmm.
Because making something now you're kind of doing the fashioning,
Yeah.
which is the molding.
Hmm.
But if something,
The beginning stages of
yeah,
anything's development is called a bara or bara'a or bari by al
right,
bari. That's Allah's attribute. The creator, they still say the creator, but it's to
right,
create something out of nothing.
right,
Khalaqa is creating something out of something that was already here, but giving it a
yeah.
different presentation. That's why we say programming, because you can build a computer. The computer is here, but it hasn't been programmed yet.
Oh,
So the
oh,
beginning stages of the building of that computer, when you use wire, rubber, or
yeah,
whatever else you're using to build the actual computer,
yeah,
okay, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you because it's not programmed for what it was intended to be as a purpose.
okay,
So once you design it to accommodate a programming system, whatever it is, DOS or whatever they say these programming systems are, then upon receiving the instructions,
yeah, yeah,
how to operate. How many times has Instructor Bilal thought he knew just how to do something that came in a box and he didn't need the instructions and he threw it and it took him 3 times as long to
yeah, yeah,
get that thing operating, right? Because I had one like this 20 years ago. This should still work the same way. Doesn't
yeah,
work like that. Read the instructions. The instructions on how to build the human life are contained in the Quran. In fact,
right,
almost the sole purpose of the Quran is to teach human beings how to build upon the excellence of their human life. It's not here to tell us how to be as politicians. It's not
right,
here to tell us how to be as economists. It's
right,
not here to create a monolith out of humanity where all of us are, in lockstep in robot, form and doing all the same thing because Allah likes for us to all be the same. No, He doesn't. Look out into any garden and then tell me why He didn't let all those flowers be the same.
right,
See? So it's the same principle. He wants to beautify this creation. So he's given us a set of instructions that are called for us Al Quran, Al Furqan, Al Bayan, by all of these beautiful names. But if you never get introduced to them, your nature will introduce you to the idea that have been born for a larger purpose than just sucking on grapes. Yeah, Caesar and those guys. Yeah, we built for a bigger purpose than that, having slaves and everybody telling everybody
right,
what to do and all. That's not what we were built
right,
for. We were built to build upon the excellence of this human life. And where is that dictation coming from? Where is that guidance coming from? It's coming from the cell. Excel,
yep,
ence, exiting the cell. Allah wants something. He built us so
yeah,
that something He put in the cell
yeah,
will eventually exit, meaning show itself in the public. That has nothing to do with the receiving of a Quran.
right,
That means the kitab is in you.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You understand?
yeah,
Whether you receive the Quran, it depends on where you are in the world and who allows the Quran to be seen in the libraries and the schools and all. That's not going to always happen, but you are going to always have access to cellular development.
right,
Science tells you about something called muscle memory.
yeah,
Well, that's taking place in your cellular
yeah,
body.
it is,
So the quest is
yeah.
to learn more about yourself as a cellular phenomenon. Did that make sense?
It makes sense to me for sure. To me, it makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna add just questions, and then I got some consonantal connections.
Oh
No,
man, come on. Bring
So
it.
question was, okay, so then the al-bar is the association to the creation, like to Allah's ability to create, to make something from nothing, essentially. Am I right? Is the
Let me give you more clarity.
Yeah, I need more clarity
We're
because the
dealing with the consonants B and R, or Beit and Ra. And I spoke on
yeah.
this when I was teaching on the word Hebrew.
Okay.
And I said that the word Hebrew means
To cross over.
yes.
So
He, the prefix he means the. It's a definite article, like al is a definite article for Arabic. And
and
the
then yeah,
BREEW is the crossing,
yes,
like
the
over
crossing
a
over.
bridge,
Correct.
or like the crossing over of money from your pocket
Yeah.
to my pocket when I am borrowing, borrowing, right? So that BR, no matter what the language now, no matter what the language, the BR is going to indicate a crossing over. And you'll notice in the word Arabic, it's in verse, it's the RB.
Yeah.
We'll talk
Rab.
about that another day. Yeah,
Yeah. Rab.
yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the Ein Ra Bait. That's right. Yeah, you got it right. Okay. Now, there's so much. I get excited when I talk about these things. Um,
I'm already kind of getting it.
there is a crossing over that's taking place in the human brain.
Yeah, for certain.
The most significant crossover in the human brain's structure is the crossing over of information from the conscious mind into
Yep.
the subconscious mind
Yep.
for memory keeping,
Yes.
for holding on to things that you need to remember. And you can
Yes.
see the BR in
We are as in
remember.
there too.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And you see the mem, which is
Yep.
water.
Exactly.
So it's the crossing over the waters. That's what memory is.
Yes, it is.
The waters crossing over.
Yep.
And you can see even in the English letter M,
It's wavy.
the ripples, the
Yep.
waves. And they'll show you those same waves in a scan or whatever of the
Yep.
brain.
100%. And you got all sorts of waves, sound waves,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
representation
Yes. So they
of
call it, you
all.
got air waves and you got water
Yep.
waves in the world. In the brain, you have 5 different variations of waves: alpha, beta,
Yep.
gamma, right? Delta, right?
Yes.
So this is what we should be teaching our children to study instead of this
Right.
foolishness that they put on the televisions for our young children to soak up as just unnecessary nonsense
Yeah.
in terms of information.
Right.
No way in the world we need to be teaching our children about all of these cartoon fantasies and superheroes, and you are the superhero. That's how we got to teach your children. Tell them you're the superhero. You just have to grow into your superpowers. And the greatest superpower you have, child, is going on right here. How you choose to think. And until you start choosing to think and act upon certain things that you have chosen, you are just like the rest of the animals running in the forest. And you will then be wasting the potential that the source creator put into this wonderful and magnificent brain by not bringing things to your conscious mind's attention and then working out how to best operate and supervise your life based
Yeah.
on the choices that you made that you believed to be the most beneficial.
Right.
So if you are not a conscious being in today's time, you are not truly human.
Right.
For the Muslims, if you are not a conscious thinking being in today's time, you are not even a Muslim. Because a Muslim is also one who has made that choice to think consciously about what Allah would have him or her do.
Right.
I'm getting ready to do this thing. Is Allah going to be pleased with it? That's thinking. That's the
Yeah.
water cleansing. the mind.
Yes.
See, so in that regard, the word Mecca is not a bad word. It's
Yeah.
that which you contemplate so deeply and strenuously. Like when the waves hit the shore, and it hits those rocks, it slaps up against the ships that are sailing through it. But if there's any filth in that water, it's going to be extricated. It's going
Yeah.
to be eliminated because of that action. It's the same motion of your washing machine. They call
Yeah.
it agitation.
Yeah.
So do you know that the word nas, and you're the first one I'm telling this to,
Okay. I feel
the,
special.
the word nas, although they translate it as man or mankind or whatever, it means the agitation in the mind.
All right, let me see how I can find this consonantally.
Mhm.
So the noon is seed. Noon is represented by a seed, and a seed has a potential within it to blossom. The word yeah, I used yesterday.
Mhm.
But the scene, I still don't got scene down pack. I know
Okay.
scene is like scene. Please don't say it. Let me see if I can.
I'm not going to say anything. Matter of fact, if you have the time, I just need like a 2 minute break.
Yes, please do.
So while I'm doing what I do, you keep contemplating. And I'll be right back. And I bet you're going to have the answer when I get back.
Okay, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna go
All
through
right.
my notes.
Okay. Do
I'm
what
trying to
you
go
do.
off of memory here.
No, go ahead. Ask,
Ah.
call on it.
Mm, mm. Why am I not getting seen? I got everything but seen. You want to know? It's so funny. There's so many words here that have seen in it, but seen by itself, I cannot figure it out because I got here these notes for it.
Okay, let me give you some
Sumar
help.
means I have notes for samawats, but like seen by itself,
Let me
I
give you some
got
help. Okay,
gotcha. I'm here.
let's give you some help.
Yeah.
We have consonants, which are characters. We call all letters characters.
Right.
Okay. And a character is a fancy way of calling it an actor.
Hmm.
Actor.
Yeah.
It's an actor. And an actor is acting out certain parts. So every character in the Arabic letter system is playing a part. And that part is in you. It's not all out there first. It's in you first. And characters have personalities.
Hmm.
So what is giving a letter its personality are the
Mm-hmm.
vowels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in Arabic, we have three basic vowels: a, I, U. That's it. And they can be elongated into a,
Mm-hmm.
I, U.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there are six in total, but there are three essential vowels
Yeah.
that can be accentuated,
Okay.
elongated. All right. So a is the open mouth sound,
Okay.
which indicates things that are open or in the public view.
Yeah.
Nas, see that open.
Yeah.
The I sound is when the mouth is not quite open, but it's actually leaving its open position to close down.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And when it's E, it's because we are pondering deeply.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say pondering now, I'm talking about what is being done in the fitra when you take food into the mouth. You open your mouth first, then
Then you
you
close it.
chew, right? So E.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the E sound, the kesra, that elongated E sound that we're talking about, is talking about pondering in the mind. The A is talking about the open mind, because you
Yeah.
have to be open first before you can ponder something that somebody's telling you.
For certain.
Once they tell it to you and you begin to think about it, you ponder it, you start chewing on it. That's what we call it. In science, they call it masticate,
Yeah.
but we're chewing on it with the
Right.
teeth, with the teeth.
Yes.
And what's the purpose of chewing on it?
Oh, seeing the shining of the teeth.
There you go.
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
Shining, forgiving.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
people used to take,
Yeah.
especially in ancient Arabia, they had what's called, they still do, they have miswak,
Yeah.
which is a tree-limbed kind of toothbrush, or they
Yeah.
use it as a toothbrush to,
Yeah.
they chew on it,
Yep.
right? So that's the I-E, right? Then you have the sound, which becomes the oo sound. And oo is the sound of something spiritual or spooky. Ooh, we say the
Yeah.
ghost is saying boo, that kind of thing, right? So it only means that it exists in reality, but it's going to take much more investigation before you can understand it.
Okay.
So when Allah attaches that elongated dhamma, they call it,
Yeah.
ooh sound to something,
Mhm.
like buruj, which means
Yeah.
stars, right?
Yeah.
It only means that he wants us to investigate it further because it's further away from us
Mhm.
in terms of the understanding.
Mhm.
So that's your a-e-u, and you relate those three to what's going on in the human personality. There are some personalities that are quite open. Folks in the LGBT, sometimes A, B, C, U, sometimes Y community. I don't know all the alphabets, forgive me. I'm not trying to be funny.
I know.
But they are quite open.
Yeah.
But then there's a different part of the gay community that's quite conservative.
That's true.
They don't want you to know that. They don't want you into their personal, private sex business. So it ain't none of your business
Yeah.
which way I swing. See,
Yeah. Yeah.
it might be related to the same lifestyle, but it's not the same personality because one is open.
Hmm.
The other one is just in his or her own bag doing what they do. And then you
Yeah.
have others who are even further away than that, and you would never even know. You find out after they die, oh, he was gay
Yeah.
for real. Clifton Davis, really? You know, Sherman Hemsley, not my man George Jefferson,
Um,
So you find these things out and you go, wow, because he kept way away from the public with that knowledge,
yeah.
right? So that's your ooh sound. I'm trying to bring it into modern day parlance.
Yeah. For certain.
Yeah. But the letters themselves are characters or characteristics.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the word Nas is the nun, as you said, connected to the sin as
Yeah,
consonants.
right.
Nun, you told us what nun means. What did you say?
Seed.
Yeah.
And oh, I actually have a really good definition. I dropped
Mm-hmm.
my book. Forgive me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have it. This is really good here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, of course. But when you ask me for it, I don't have it. This is me trying to do a few things at once.
Mm-hmm. I know.
So I just gonna go off of the
Okay.
mind. It's
It's okay.
seed, the potential to blossom. Information is in the seed as well.
Yes.
Information is stored in the seed, and now we have to nurture that seed in order for it to mature and
Beautiful.
grow to what its potential is.
Yeah.
Not a
There's
perfect,
one other
but
thing that I
oh,
told you about noon and meme by a different word. What kind of letters are they?
I'm so sorry. There's one other thing you told me about noon and meme
Yeah.
used
I don't know if you
different.
came across it because I might not have taught it to you directly, but it's in the book. It's in NuNetics. And that
Well,
is that they
I know.
are nasal sounds.
Oh yeah, of course. Yes, they're both nasal sounds.
Right. And what does the nose symbolize?
Breath,
What
air.
else?
The nose.
What level of thinking? We're talking the mind now. What level of thinking
The nose
is
represents.
characterized by the nasal?
Please don't tell me. Let me see if I can figure this out.
Mhm.
The nose. What kind of thinking?
Remember,
But when I think
the brain has different levels.
correct.
Okay, start going through those levels.
Okay, because we got the triune brain.
Hmm.
We have the limbic. So it's not the memory. It's not reptilian. It's not, is it? It is.
No, I
Wait,
didn't say it
I'm
was.
not gonna look at you. I'm gonna take
I'm not going to take until you exhaust everything that you're thinking.
because a reptilian brain is a subconscious. Oh no, no. That's the intuition, the
You just called it
subconscious.
after that.
Intuition.
Yes.
Intuition.
Yes,
That's the
both.
intuition.
Both.
Oh, both of the intuition.
Yeah.
You know why? Because you don't know that you're breathing in and out the whole time. So you just,
Give me a better meaning for intuition.
oh, intuition. You intuit something.
Where'd you get it?
It's clocked in
By who and by what?
by the source creator for sure.
So you're saying that intuition is not a product of man's teachings?
Intuition is not a product of man teaching.
If you're sitting where you are sitting right now
Mhm.
and you get a thought that rushes through your nervous system that says, I need to call home. Did anybody teach you
Man,
that you need to call
nobody
home?
taught me that for
All
sure.
right. But you follow up on that intuition, and what
Right.
happens? You get home and you find out that there was something you needed to know before you left work. Doesn't have to be bad.
Yeah.
Just, man, if you didn't tell me that, I wouldn't have brought that home from work with me, not
Yeah.
knowing that, tomorrow a tsuami will be here, whatever, I should have gone shopping. So intuition is just inner tuition. And
Yeah.
tuition is something that you pay for a learning experience, but you're not paying it with money. You're paying it with your mental attention, your mental
Yeah.
focus. And it's really Allah who is sending you the signals.
Yeah.
So that's intuition. When Musa went down into the valley in the Quran, do you remember what that valley was called? Doesn't matter if you don't remember. This is your teaching
Yeah.
experience. This is your.
I know once you say it, I'll know it.
Of course you will. Well, maybe it's something that you didn't read yet or didn't hear yet. It was called the Valley of Tuwa,
Yeah.
Tuwa. Okay.
Yeah.
And Tuwa is where they got the word to it,
Yeah.
which led to intuit,
Yeah.
which further led to intuition.
Yeah. And it
So
makes sense.
the valley that Musa went down into is the valley that any one of us can enter on the metaphysical level, you might want to call it.
Yeah.
because all of these things are pointing to things that are happening in the human mind. So there's a Musa in you. There's a Musa in me. There's a Musa in every functional human being on this planet Earth. And it's when they learn to activate the emotional center that leads to opening up their intuitive
Yeah.
faculties, their intuitive grasps of things. We all have it, but we think it's happenstance. We think it's just accidental that we intuit something and it kind of comes true.
Yeah.
But every human being, every baby is born with this intuition, but it's on a lower level. It's on a baby level.
Yeah.
A baby will react to somebody who just came in the room, never met before, and the baby will start crying.
Yep.
It'll giggle with everybody else until Uncle Sam walks into the room. What did I do to this baby? You didn't do anything. But there's something in the baby's nervous system that is reacting to some frequency that you've brought with you. Because babies are mostly frequency
That's right.
modulators.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
All right. And they grow out of it because the
Yeah.
ability to intuit in a human baby is not perfect and complete.
Yeah. Yeah.
But later on in life, in our age groups, there is the completing and the perfecting of that intuition chamber that I call supra
Yeah.
intuition.
Right.
And supra intuition is when you have perfected and completed your internal energies enough for Allah to open the door and come in and teach you. As Allah says in the Quran, He's teaching all of you, right?
Yeah.
So Allah steps in, but only when you have a sincere heart and only when you are sincerely motivated to study His ayat or His instructing signs. You have to be looking for the instructions, is the point.
Yeah.
It won't fall out of the sky. It won't be
Yeah.
happenstance. It won't happen just because you woke up feeling good about God that morning. Now God's just going to give it to you. No, that's not how it works. It's like saying you woke up feeling good about God, so you decided to go try to fly an airplane. Unless you have some serious instructions
Yeah.
or an instructor sitting next to you, I wouldn't try it. I don't care how much you say you believe in God. If you
Right.
make it into the air, they'll see you on the telescope or wherever they are. You're falling out into the ocean somewhere, thinking that just because you believe in a God, that you're going to be saved. That
Mm-mm.
ain't how Allah works.
Mm-mm.
Allah allows. You've heard me say that.
All the time.
So that's what you want to do, you little foolish headed human being. Oh, go ahead and try that and see what happens. And he's going to put something in your nervous system that checks you every step of the way, unless
Yeah.
you become what's called Majnun, crazy in the head.
Yeah.
Then there might not be any stops, stop signs along the way if you're doing something dumb. You see? But ordinarily, they're going to be nervous signals sent to you
Mm.
because Allah clocked them into your creation, into your khalaq, into your programming. To every now and then say, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
He'll even make it go wrong to show you, no, you shouldn't have been doing that.
Yeah. That's right.
But if you keep doing it, then Allah says, khalas.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So getting back to the word nas,
Yeah.
you see it's consonantally connected to the word nose, right? The word nasal is based on nas. Is
Mm-hmm.
this backwards? The al is put on the end. So instead of
Yeah.
al nas,
Yeah.
it's nasal,
Yeah.
nasal.
Yeah.
And the nasal passages has to do with that which goes to and fro,
Yeah.
back and forth
Yes.
as breath or breathing.
Yes.
And the breathing is directly connected to your lungs, connected to everything that's going on inside your body, but the lungs in particular, and you have to keep them inflated and deflated in order to continue living.
Yeah.
These are all instructing signs from our source creator.
Yeah.
Now, the intellect and the emotionality, which is connected to the intuition also. You say, no, I feel like I shouldn't go out today. I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like going to that party today.
Yeah.
And you end up finding out that somebody got shot, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So all of these faculties are related in the human mind.
Yeah.
And there's a word that I think it came out of the Greek language. It's called the nous.
Mm.
You ever hear of that?
No.
Okay.
Mm.
Nous.
Yeah, I lost my pen, so
It's okay.
mm, I,
It's what it gave us the Greek word Gnostic.
there we go.
All right. That's
Coming together.
Gnostic. Gnostic and Gnosticism.
Got it.
But it came from the word nous, which the etymology dictionary claims that it doesn't know the origin. Whenever they say that, I know they're
Yeah.
trying to hide something.
Yeah.
That's too much for you in the public. But it's related consonantally, as you can see, to nas. And nous for them means what's going on in the intellect, in the intelligence, they'll tell you. And the intelligence is a direct product of the genes.
Yeah.
Clocked in already when you're born, it's already clocked into you how to drink milk from your mother's breast,
Yep.
how to cry,
Yeah.
how to chuckle, laugh,
Yeah.
show gums. These are things that are inbred and inborn into the human genetics.
Yeah.
So nous is then connected to the human genetics, the DNA, the intelligence that Allah has clocked into the DNA that has to be overridden by more powerful programming
Yeah. Yeah.
in order to change them.
Yeah.
What is an anorexic? Somebody who has given up on the idea of eating. They think eating is harmful.
Right.
That's overwhelming the native
Yeah.
genes in you. When a young lady goes out and begins to date and she comes back with a dude that, is the biggest, baddest drug dealer in the neighborhood, she has overridden something native in her that should have detected that this is not the right man for me.
Right.
I'm not on the street. I'm not a hoe. I'm not a this. And all of a sudden she's on the street as a hoe with
Yeah.
this guy
Yeah.
because something has entered her mentality
Yeah.
that has redetermined her
Right.
programming.
Right.
So the khalaq can be what Allah created, or the khalaq can be what the environment created. In English, that's called memes and mimetic.
Yep.
In the biology, it's called genes and
Yeah.
the genetic.
Mm.
Genetics, genes, DNA, RNA, all of that is originally created by the source creator.
Yep.
But once they start operating in the environment, then some crafty social engineers can get hold of that potential and begin to reprogram you, even to the point where your original DNA will not respond to the fitra.
Truth. Yeah.
So nous and nas and news, something you didn't know before,
Yeah.
like intuition is. You didn't know you were supposed to go home, but the news caught you. I'm sorry, boss. I gotta go. I'll call you from home. Something's going on. I don't know what's going on, but I know something's going on. That's all I can tell you. Well, what
Yeah.
happened? Did somebody call you from home? No, nobody called me. It's just a feeling
Yeah.
registering up and down my spinal cord that says I got to go.
Yeah.
I'll make up the time, but I got to go. That's nous at work. Look that word up when you get a chance.
I will. I wrote it. I got a note here.
So there
So
are whole segments of humanity as humanity begins to grow, to progress, humanly speaking. There are sections of people. African Americans are going through it. The Native American has gone through this. The European has gone. All people on this planet have different rates of growth into true human expression. We're not all on the same level, and it has nothing to do with so-called racism and all of that. It has to
mm,
do with an acknowledgement that humans are growing at different paces and capacities.
yeah. Yeah.
And where Egypt was, scientifically speaking, 5,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, the rest of the world wasn't there.
Yeah.
They had to learn that from visiting Egypt and studying Egypt,
Yeah.
studying what the ancient Egyptians said about the soul and so forth.
Yeah.
And the ancient Egyptians didn't want to teach them because most of them they considered to be unworthy of this great level of science. So the Egyptians kept it back from the Greeks.
Mhm.
They taught them some things. They kept it back from the ancient Romans. They taught them just minuscule amounts of things. That's how Misr became miser.
Here we go. That, yeah, I always gotta get back to it.
Yeah. I like the circular route sometimes, what they call the scenic route.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. But that's how they became, and that made those other people miserable when they found out that they didn't get the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yeah.
See, why would they do for us like that?
Yeah.
See? So they kept hidden those areas of knowledge that would have positioned those new people to become the superiors of the people who were teaching them.
Yeah.
Every people is afraid of that. And
Yeah.
every people should be afraid of that because they don't know how that knowledge is going to be used in the world. The
Yeah.
only people that I say should not be afraid of people taking over because they shared some knowledge with them is the people who say they follow the Quran because the Quran's wisdom is unlimited.
It
If
is.
all of the oceans were ink, so says the Quran, and the
Yeah.
trees were pens, and you were to times them by seven, meaning by infinity,
Yeah.
never could you exhaust the kalima
Yeah.
of Allah. See, they translate it as the words of Allah, but
Yeah.
kalima means something grand, way and above what a word means. And kalima is consonantally connected to salima, which
Yeah.
gives us the word Muslim
Yeah. Yeah.
and Islam.
Yeah. That's how you know it's not relegated to and for certain peoples,
That's right.
and brings us back to the Hajj.
That's right.
Physical ritual. There is a physical component, but it's not as a ritual.
No, you can do Hajj on your block if you got enough people who believe what you believe.
Yeah.
You can do it at the most advantageous part of the world, a time of the world, a season of the cycle, the annual cycle that
Yeah.
fits what you're doing. Just like Jummah is meant to be the same thing. It's not that
Yeah.
it's not a physical journey to a place where you congregate with other people, but it's
Right.
not what we're calling Friday.
Yeah. 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 Definitely.
I know some
Yeah.
people will argue with that. It's because they don't have enough information on what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You're supposed to get together in your local community and find out who else is on your wavelength and
Yeah.
then say, well, when are you off from work? Or is the weekend good for you? Or when are your children out from school?
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, on Thursday at 7, since most of us are available, that's when we're going to have this thing the Quran calls Jumu'ah.
Yeah.
Oh, that instructor guy, there he goes again, messing up our religion.
Yeah.
Your religion needs to be messed up. It's your deen that needs to be straightened out.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say, yeah. Yeah, that's the difference between the religion and the deen.
Yeah.
What does
Deen,
legion
yeah.
what does legion mean? Because the re is a prefix. Remember we talked about that
Yeah,
yesterday.
that's right. You're
Prefix,
right. You're doing it
something,
right.
fix, and the
Hmm.
re means to return to something.
Yeah.
But the legion part, you know what? I did look it up. I should know what this stuff means.
It's okay. Things fall
I
out.
looked it up. The
But uh-huh.
Proto-Indo-European word is a leg means something. I
Yeah.
think it means teach. I think it means to like teach or
Well, we're
to
about to
say
find
or
out. You're going to be
explain.
surprised at the mening. I'm going,
Yeah.
since I have the etymology online dictionary open, I'm going to go straight so you can hear it from their mouth. You ready?
Am I ready, or do I want to kind of see if I can find it real
No, you can
quick?
take your time. It's on you. I'm on your dime, as they say.
I'm gonna find
Sure
it.
you will. Go right ahead. You'll be surprised at the connections.
Yes. Oh, Proto-Indo-European root, leg, leg, to collect together. Yes, together, i.e., with derivatives meaning to speak, to gather words, to pick out words.
Mhm.
And it forms all parts of alexia, analects, analogous, analog. And this can go on dialogue, dialect,
Mhm.
delegate. Yeah, You know what? I need to get in trouble. I should have known.
It's okay.
It also forms logos.
Yes, that's right.
So yeah, and it just goes on forever.
And
So
in the
to
Bible,
read hell,
yeah, in the Bible,
correct.
it says that the word in the beginning was the word,
Yeah,
and the Greek word for word is logos
logos.
or logos, whichever way they want to pronounce it. That's the first point. That word logos is related to this word that you're discussing now, which you said also means to collect or gather.
Yeah.
And that's in the etymology online dictionary, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that's them online.
Yeah.
It's yep.
Now there's a word that Allah uses in the Quran to begin the array of revelation that would come after it. They say that the first word that the Prophet spoke or that Muhammad spoke was what?
They say it's to read
Yeah,
ikra
to read.
ikra.
Ikra. Yes. Okay. So Ikra, now we're looking at IQRA.
Yeah,
If we were to take that word back to its root beginnings, it would be Qara'a.
right.
Qaf, Ra, Aleph.
Hmm.
Take the Aleph off, it came later. The
Yes.
original, what we would call the root, the proto-root letters, which would be two letters, is
Yep.
Qaf, Ra.
Hmm.
Now you look at the word collect,
Hmm.
and you're going to hear the sound of the K and the C. Collect, K,
Yes.
K,
Yeah. And the
and
L
you see the L.
is interchangeable with the R.
Exactly. So what you're
Yep.
looking at is
Mhm.
guttural liquid.
Correct.
Qaf, Ra, Kaf,
Lamb.
Lam. So to collect has something to do with what they're calling in the Muslim lands of scholarship, reading.
Yeah.
So when you go through Lane's lexicon and look up the
Hmm.
word ikra and qara'a, it's going to say to collect, to gather. Oh, is that an accident? No. These are people who have higher knowledge than we have, but don't always share it on the level that I'm sharing it with you,
Oh, and
which
I'm
makes
hearing
it,
it.
hmm?
Right. Excitement.
No,
I'm
go,
hearing
be
it already.
excited.
The logos. It's
Mhm.
the liquid, and the guttural.
Yes, because it's indicating the same thing thematically.
Grammatically correct.
It's
Correct.
indicating the same thing. So what does that say about the cosmos or the logos? Well, the logos is in the beginning, Allah created the skies and the earth and so forth and so forth. And the logos is the word, and the word is actually everything that is observable in creation. I just gave it to you in the Quranic ayat
Yeah.
that says that if all of the oceans were ink
Yeah.
and all of the trees were pens
Yeah.
through which that ink can be put into, right?
Right.
And you times it by infinity,
Yeah.
never can you exhaust the words, the kalimat
Yeah.
of Allah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
those words exist everywhere. So the
Yeah.
logos is everywhere. If the
Yep.
logos is everywhere, then what Allah is asking us to do when He says ikra, that's a command form of a verb.
Yeah.
He's asking us to do it for everything we are involved in. So if it
Exactly.
means collect, if it
Correct.
means to gather, what are we gathering? Knowledge
Yep. Infinite knowledge.
in the form of the symbol called the agriculture. You hear agri, G-R,
Ikra
kara,
there. Yep.
G-R, ikra, same thing.
It is.
Yeah, we call that agriculture.
Mhm.
We divide it into acres,
Yeah.
acre, ikra.
Okay.
How can you miss it?
Yeah.
When I give it as simple as that, I'm talking to the people out there in La La Land.
Yeah.
How can you miss these connections when I'm giving it to you on a silver platter?
Yeah. Yep.
All
Yep.
you have to do is become interested enough in learning
Yeah.
this new level of word science, I would call it. And for those of you who might not know, this young lady here, she's not even that. Yeah, I mean, basically just got here.
Yeah.
And she is running rings around people who naysay this.
Yeah.
No, that can't be true. The Quran didn't say that.
I mean,
The scholars never said that. But you're looking at the beginning of scholarship when you look at us. We're the
yeah,
beginnings of the new, if you want to call it scholarship.
yeah,
We are the new thinkers,
right.
not only in the Muslim world, in the entire world.
Yeah.
There are English so-called scholars who can't bring what I've been bringing to you for years
Wow.
now. Can't do
That's
it. They can't
right.
touch it, and I can do this in my sleep.
Yeah.
All right. So look at the other word that comes out of this. Logic, you mentioned,
Yes.
and also the prefix leg,
Yeah.
which is the prefix for legion.
Yeah.
And we all know what the leg is.
Hmm.
We all know what the leg does. It advances the whole body forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you think about a leg, you think about going forward, not moonwalking like Michael, going forward.
Yeah.
And this was one of the symbols in the hieroglyphs of the ancient people they called the Egyptians.
Yeah.
They had people always positioned, most of the time, positioned
Yeah.
like this, sometimes positioned like this, as though their legs were tied together,
Yes.
but most of the time positioned so that their left foot was forward
Yeah.
to be
Mm.
followed by their right foot.
Mm.
Left foot followed by the right foot. In the army today in the West, we say left,
Yeah.
left,
Right. Right.
left, right, left.
Yeah.
This is ancient Egyptian science.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all it means is that the dormant mind begins your
Yeah.
journey. And then
Yeah.
the strong mind that's being built in the background takes over and
Well, that's
propels
true
you
because
forward.
the left side of the brain is the rational, logical side of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes. And
because the baby trying to figure all this out. It wants to make sense of the environment that it just got thrusted into.
you lead with the left.
Yeah.
I
And
did
then
not think.
all of the beauty and the wholeness that we mentioned earlier, that comes secondarily,
Yep.
in a sense. In a different sense, the wholeness comes first because the infant is going to see everything as one
Yeah.
thing.
Exactly. They
It
can't.
does not know that's mommy
Yeah.
by that designation or by that role. It does not know that that's brother and sister by those names. It just looks like other people who are moving in front of
Mhm.
it. And the only thing that allows the baby to know that that's mommy for sure is that she's the feeding source. So then they have a
Yeah.
specific designation for her. When they see
Yeah.
her, they get excited, you
Yep.
know. But you can put any woman with some breast milk in front of the baby, and it get just as excited if it knows that there's a milk source there. Doesn't matter that baby doesn't know it came out of this lady here. Baby doesn't know she's the one who's always changing my poo-poo diaper and all that. Whoever does it, the baby's gonna fall in love with.
Yeah. That's true. We
And if
see
there are
it sometimes.
things the mother's not doing, the baby will fall out of love with her.
Yeah.
Hate to see her coming. So these are our ayat, instructing signs in Allah's fitrah, as we mentioned. So the most important thing I will say to you before we break is to study the fitrah, meaning study the patterns. That's all
Sure.
fitrah is. The
Yep.
patterns that have been created for Allah to excite the mind,
Yeah. Yeah.
to animate the mind. When you see things, the butterfly, and then you see the moth, and you say, are those two butterflies? Or are those two moths? They both got wings.
Mhm.
See? So we see them both as the same when we first see them. That's what I
Yeah.
meant by seeing things unilaterally
Yeah.
first. Then a dichotomy is created in the mind when you're able to capture that butterfly or capture that moth or watch it more closely
Mhm.
or maybe touch it. And you find out that the moth has what seems to be dust on his wing.
Yeah.
And if you study the moth at night, you notice that the moth is flying towards fire
Yeah.
and light. Butterfly, not butterflies out of sight in the
Exactly.
nighttime. You got to wait for the sun to come up for the
Yep.
butterfly to come back out. So now you're beginning to see specifications. This
Yeah.
is the human mind we're talking about.
Yeah.
The nous, the nas. This is humans on the level of nas when they start to differentiate like that,
Understood. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Even that's why in that last verse, Surah Al-Nas in the Quran, he talks about the different types of Nas. I don't know if I want to speak on it because, I'm still learning.
Well, that's what this is. This is a class.
Like when he says, Biral bin Nas, Maliki Nas, Illa Inas, it's all the different types of intellects.
Well, let's go back to the way we described it. We described them as intelligences.
Intelligences.
Difference between intellect
Oh, okay, okay,
and
okay.
intelligence.
Okay, so it's already in us if it's intelligence.
Yes.
Now you got to activate
Yes.
the different, yeah.
And those three markings are what activate the intelligence.
Oh,
Malik,
yep.
Ilah, what's the third one there? Rab, the first one.
What up? Yeah,
Yeah. So the Rab,
yeah,
and listen now, it's not the Rab out there.
yeah. It's the
I'm,
second beat.
I'm going to say something that's controversial now. It's not the Lord, the Rab that is out there. It's the Rab that Allah created to be activated within you.
Right.
It's not the Malik that's sitting as king on the throne
Yeah.
in some town or city
Mhm.
or state. It's the Malik that was intended to be the ruler, not out there, in you. See, there can be all of the Maliks and the Rabs and the Ilahuns and all of that out there, but if you're not conscious of it, then so what? What's the point of me even knowing that there's a God if there's no God force being activated within me by the source creator who created me for this kind of independence, but not from him. We are interdependent with Allah, and we
100%.
are actually even interdependent with each other, but we're not
Yeah.
supposed to be solely or totally dependent on anything except what Allah has provided us with. That's called al-huda, the guidance. So we go to the guidance to determine what we're supposed to be attached to. Allah said He created us. خلق الإنسان من علق. He alaqed us. He locked alaq. He locked us into certain things.
Yeah.
See, sticky substances. That's true biologically, in that the fetus becomes attached, becomes a Klingon in the mother to be's system.
Yeah.
But the intellect also becomes a Klingon when it starts to remember things. See,
That's
we don't
right.
remember when we were born. Somebody had
Yeah.
to tell us about that. But when we turn 3, 4, 5 years old, for sure, 5 years old, we start to remember our life. The first time we went to school and we were terrified. We remember that. All of that is alaq. It's a part of the human memory system that attaches itself to information. And all of
Un-
that is taking place in the limbic brain, the emotional memory brain.
Understood. Understood.
Mhm. Crash course here.
Yeah. Interest in time because I do gotta get back where
I thought you would have been gone. I mean, this is great.
yeah.
So
No,
thank you.
I got more because I want to go back to the alak
I am here. You take
create.
advantage of me, as Bill Withers said in his song, Use Me. You keep on using me until you use me up.
I
And
got the
at the,
permission.
the end of the song says, It ain't too bad the way you're using me because I sure am using you to do the
Yep.
things you do.
True.
Okay.
Okay.
So carry
I gotta
on.
find that connection with make and halak.
You got
It's
time now.
there.
You got time. Okay. This
Okay.
session has been a study guide for sure for any
Yeah.
and everybody that's interested in the NuNetics method. And this young lady here has proven that she's in the front part of this race towards linguistic excellence. And I thank you for providing me with your time because you help bring other things out of me, things that I
Yeah.
never said before. As I told you
Yeah.
earlier, I never said
Yeah.
it this to anybody, but
Yeah.
nous and nous,
Yep.
nas, knows, anything that's consonantally connected is going to have an underlying theme.
Yep.
All right. So greetings to all to whom that applies. Tell your husband happy Father's Day and
I
whoever
will.
else is in your environment, granddad or uncle or whoever. All right.
All right.
And we'll meet again as soon as you're available.
Inshallah.
All right then. Salaamun Alaykum.
Alaikum salam.
All right. Great seeing you.
You too.